Welcome back, my witches. We've made it to the end of the road, or as I like to call it, the epic manipulation of both Billy and Agatha. Let's talk about it. I was at the Arcane premiere yesterday while the premiere was happening, and I tried my best to sneak and watch a few, but I couldn't. This was something that we absolutely had to eat and digest in one sitting, and I think that's why they gave us both 8 and 9, boom, boom, just right off the bat, and it was yummy. I don't know about you guys, but I loved it. Okay, here's the thing. When watching this, and I'm going to talk about both of them condensed. So when I talk about the finale, I'm talking about both 8 and 9 as one solid episode. So I'm not going to do we're talking about 8 here, and we're talking about the whole thing all together at once, because I don't know how else to do it. I think that both of these episodes are built to be discussed as one unit. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to bounce around. I'm going to talk about Nicholas. I'm going to talk about the road. I'm going to talk about the coven. I'm going to talk about Agatha and her powers, and Wanda and the future. And I'll talk about the Young Avengers. We're talking about it all. It's literally just going to be a stream of consciousness and all the things that I was thinking and experiencing, and I'm sure you guys were experiencing too as you're watching that. But let's really get to the gritty of the nitty of this episode, the finale of Agatha All Along. The first thing that I do want to talk about is Nicholas Scratch and the Witch's Road song, because that, I think, is the big culmination of everything that this season is, the entirety of this show. And it's so interesting because as someone who I think, at this point, on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being you wrote the darn comic, I think I have at least an intermediate level of comics, maybe a 6 or 7. I know that there are some comics that I don't have a lot of knowledge about, and then there are others that I have a brilliant knowledge of, but I think I sit right in the middle of a lot of comics. There are other friends that I know who are savants of comics, but I think I've got a healthy balance. And so in watching this show, I came in more with a comic book knowledge and a comic book love and a comic book excitement, because I knew The Witch's Road at this point, and I had done multiple edits on other geek members' videos. And so at this point, I was such a connoisseur of The Witch's Road. And so to get to see all of these little nods and these little hints about the road and the journey of the road and the ghosts of the road and how each of the fallen witches still help. You're never really gone when you're a witch, or at least that's how it was portrayed in The Witch's Road. When walking the road, the witches of the past can still be there to help guide you. But The Witch's Road is a tangible thing. It was a tangible thing in comics, and it was an important journey for the witches. It was where the deity of all witches resides. And so, to find in the MCU, allegedly, because again, anything is and anything isn't in the Marvel universe. That's what happens when you have multiple dimensions. But at least in this, what we have gathered thus far in this realm of identity for the plane of existence, is that the Witch's Road is a falsity. It's falsehood. It's a lie. It was a lie conducted or concocted, not even just it was a nursery. It was a way for Agatha and Nicholas Scratch to bond, to stay together, because I don't know, he's a clever kid, he and himself. And it's interesting because you're watching Agatha kind of try to teach him how to use magic, and Nicholas Scratch is, as far as the comic books is concerned, a brilliant magician. He is a spellcaster and a sorcerer in his own right. And so to see him struggling to even do anything, it's very clear that he was not magically gifted, or at least from what we saw, he had no magical inclination. And he had a shelf life. He was dying. He had some sort of illness, some sort of sickness that was going to take him. And we have all of this information at our disposal. So it's not that he was taken by Mephisto. Granted, we still don't know who Nicholas Scratch's father is. It could still be Mephisto, but she did say she made him from scratch. So it could be that she didn't use any magic, so that kind of defeats the purpose of it being Mephisto being his father, because there would be some element of spellcasting, unless it was kind of like a Zeus thing where Zeus took the body of someone and impregnated, and so they never knew they had demi-humans until, we had Hercules, and then Zeus came down and was like, hey, I'm your pappy. So it could be a situation like that where the child still is Nicholas Scratch, or does belong. Nicholas Scratch is the prodigy of Mephisto, but we don't know that. All we know is the road, or at least the song of the road, began as a nursery rhyme and as a way for Agatha and her son to bond and to play as they're traveling this long road together killing witches. And what a unique experience to find out that Nicholas singing it in a tavern and letting a few witches go, because they were supposed to kill those witches that heard the song for the first time, but in letting those witches go, it became this lore of witchhood and of witchdom that all started from Agatha's lost son. And now, if we go back to the very beginning of this show, we're seeing all of these witches sing the song, and I can't help but to wonder, how would that make me feel as a mother to hear Alice Wu talk about how her mother sang this song in full stadiums, and to hear her say, yes, my mother had the highest grossing song, the highest grossing product. The way that she sang the song is the most grossing it's ever made. She made so much money from this song that began as a nursery rhyme for Agatha. To hear the way that, I don't even know, like, I don't think that these witches are bastardizing this song, but they're definitely taking ownership of it. And I would feel, if I was Agatha, a little tainted by it. And I think that would put a little resentment into me, that this song that was mine and my son's has been taken, and the ownership, it belongs to the witches. No, it doesn't. It belongs to me and my son. And it was a way for me to trick you all and to take your power. How dare you say that that's yours? And in walking this road with Wiccan, you know, he's created this whole idea of what he believes it to be, and it's not that. All that it ever was a way for Agatha to be close to her son. And I think that that's really beautiful. I think it's really messed up how she ended up manipulating it in her sorrow, but I do think that that's beautiful, and I think that it's interesting. I wonder if Agatha hears the song and is saddened by the fact that all of these witches, every witch she comes across, knows about the song and sings the song, or is it a way to honor her son? Does she feel like it's a sense of pride that in some way she's keeping her son alive? I don't know, but it'd be interesting. I think those are the questions that I would ask if I ever had an interview with Agatha. Those are the questions I would wonder, is when you hear it and when you see the prestige that this song that your son created, do you find joy? Do you find pride that your son has somehow lived on? Or is it that you feel shame that it's kind of been taken from you, that this piece of you and your son has been taken and claimed by other witches that you deem unworthy and that you would rather kill off? I don't know, but them's the questions I would ask. Okay, so we got the Nicholas scratch out the way. We got the Agatha road. Let's talk about Billy. Like mother, like son. My goodness. I felt it a little bit. There were moments when we were doing flashbacks of Billy, and when he came into the room and we saw all of the hints of like the concert photos of the witches on the wall, of all of these little things that were indicative of the road. Did I think that he and himself fully spellbound the entire thing? No, but I thought little things of it. But it then begs the question, or at least it then shows you how powerful Billy is, because we already know that he's a mind reader, that he can get in tune. Because I go back to, I think it was the first or second challenge, whichever one was the house when they were at, I think that was the first challenge, when they were in the lake house, or like the water house, the beachfront property. Each one of the witches had their own idea, or like they had their own manifestation of terror within that. And if we are actually thinking that Billy is the one, or we now know Billy was the one that conjured all of this because he is a chaos witch, he can build things that the same way Agatha does, just from his mind. He can create things out of chaos. Are we then saying that he manipulated deeper into the psyches of these individual witches to find the one thing that they needed in order to scare them? Or was it that when the witches were in that place, they were already thinking about these things? That would be weird. I wouldn't think of the guy who took away my powers when I'm at a beachfront property. So I do think Billy, Wiccan, went internally into their minds to pull out all of this negativity because he needed something to fill the space of the witch's road. And that's crazy. That's crazy that, I mean, it's dangerous too, that he can't control his psyche to that level. I mean, that's insane. I mean, just imagine that your power is so strong that you don't even understand that you're doing it. That is chaos magic, and that is dangerous, and that is scary. Going back, because that's kind of all I wanted to put out in that. I just wanted to talk about how unique and beautiful it is that we're seeing that correlation between Wanda and of Billy, but we're also seeing that if Billy can manifest all of this, who's to say that he can't just bring Wanda back? Because I know Wanda's about to have her own show. I don't know if it's a prequel or whatever it is, but anyone. With Billy in the MCU, there is no death. He can bring back anyone that he wants to if, you know, the MCU can afford it. But with that chaos magic, you never know. At any point, anyone that he's talking to could be fabricated in his own mind. And I wonder if the MCU is actually going to play with that as we go further down the road. It would be a very easy thing, script writing wise, to just be like, oh no, that person wasn't actually there. That was all in his mind. Hee hee, chaos. But it would be fun to see some of those other people who have left us come back. You know, I would love to see Billy use that to manipulate, like Star-Lord, if he used that to bring his Gamora back. And because he could use her memories from his mind. There's just so many ways Billy could be evil so quickly. And I know that there are paths in the comic where Billy is evil, but my goodness, would it be so simple for him to be a baddie? I'm not mad at it. Okay, let's talk about the ghosts on the road, because RIP all of these women who have died, who have passed, but in the comic books, Agatha, and I think that's also the fun little correlation between Wanda and Billy, is that both of them had Agatha as a guide in walking the road. And I think that's the closest to comic book pulling straight from the pages that we saw, and the fact that Agatha finally had her white hair, it was a long flowing white hair, that is ripped straight from the comic book panels, and her walking the road and helping Wanda achieve the end and save all of magic. I think that that's really beautiful, and I think that that was a wonderful tribute that now, and honestly, what a brilliant way to stay in the MCU, because as a ghost, you can just be anywhere. You can be a part of the MCU, you can fade in the distance, you can do voiceover work, you are just, she's there, she is there forever, and I'm hoping that just like in the Witches Road comic, that maybe Agatha will have a moment where she comes back to life, because she made, like she said, she made an educated risk. She made a calculated risk. So now that she is a ghost, her soul and her powers, because we're seeing her be able to pick up things, her powers are still there on some form or level. So there is a possibility, just like in the Witches Road, that Agatha can have a second life. And I'm wondering how Rio is going to feel when that happens. But of course, now having Rio in this, I'm excited to see her with Thanos. I'm excited to see her in the galactic realm, because she is, like she said, she is a primordial being. She is more power. She's existential. She's like eternity. She is a concept. Death is a concept. It's bigger than what we think of. So I'm excited for the MCU to finally travel beyond the street level and go galactic, because that's where my hope is. But I know that the Young Avengers are very street level, and that's kind of where we're heading. So it's great. It's great that now we've got Agatha and we've got Billy on this nice little journey where they're going to head. I'm sorry. Now we've got Wiccan and we've got Agatha, and they're off to go find Billy or Tommy. They're off to find Tommy. And I think that that's great. We've now got a plan, we've got a path, and we're bringing the last of the Young Avengers together. We just need Hulkling. There's a few other they're all very big characters, but there's a few other people that we have to bring in. But the Young Avengers are almost here and we're almost together. And that is beautiful. I appreciate the tributes that they did to the other witches. I love that Jennifer Kale is still alive and now she's got her powers, and I'm wondering how that's going to play into the overall story. I know that we never saw the Serpent Crown come into play, so I'm wondering if that's going to play into it a little bit later. I think that there was like hints of the Serpent Crown in the trailers, but we never actually saw it play into the actual MCU, or at least in Agatha All Along. So I'm wondering if Jennifer Kale is going to have a little fun thing maybe with the Serpent Crown later on, because no one's really talked about it yet, at least in what the Serpent Crown actually is. And that's a big thing with the witches and with just everyone, just really everybody. I think that's kind of it. That's kind of the big points that I wanted to talk about. I really love this. I love the way that this all came to fruition. I loved the twist. I love that the things that we knew weren't really what we knew, but what we were given was everything we needed. I think that was beautiful. I think that this was just like WandaVision. It gave me that same kind of emotional integrity and growth and sincerity that I think most shows in the MCU have been lacking. I loved it. And I loved what this did for witches. I love what it did for the lesbians. I loved what it did for love. I love what it did for the bisexuals. This was a queer show, and it was a queer forward show. And I know in my last one I did say there's a lot of times where I felt like it was a lot and they were pandering to the straights. And I think in this one, it flipped that for me. It gave me everything that I had been hoping for and everything that I needed. And everything that me as a queer woman, I'm proud of these kind of shows. I'm proud that it's okay for us just to say I love you and it not have to be this big profound thing. It's just, she loved death and death is a woman, you know, or death is whatever death wants to be. But to say profoundly, I love you, please don't take him from me, I love him too. It's okay, you know? But to have death, to have Rio look at her and say, you know, this is just what I do. You know, this is just the order of things. It's not personal, it just is. And I love that line where she was like, no one's had more cheats or advantages than you have. You know, looking her in the eye and telling, I gave you 6 years. I gave you 6 years with your son that you weren't supposed to have. You know, and I did that out of love because I love you. Ugh, I love this show. This was great. I loved it. Anyway, my witches, that is the end of the Agatha All Along. Please let me know in the comments how you guys felt about all of this. Let me know about the whole journey. Let me know about how you felt about the twists and what show, because I mean, we got the whole lineup now. Wonder Man, we've got Marvel Zombies, we've got The Eyes of Wakanda, we've got, what else? So many. Ironheart, I was like, what is this? What is this one? Ironheart. There's so many good shows coming out. What's the next one that you think we should do a series by series talk about for? What show are you most excited about? And who of the Young Avengers are you excited to see? Let me know in the comments below. I will talk to you guys later down the Witches Road. Bye.